All right, this is a continuation of the series, If I Were Your Mentor. Please keep in mind that these people, I'm just taking snippets of their readings. So I'm not trying to claim that they're fake. I'm not trying to claim that they're real. I am simply saying, if I were your mentor, here's what I would say. One of the things I want to be very clear is that everyone reads differently, and I absolutely give grace for that. And I'm absolutely not saying that I am the end all be all of readers. I am just trying to point out some discernment items. I have never run into this person before. I screen recorded a little bit of it. You have to understand that she calls herself a medium and a seer, S-E-E-R. And so within this seer thing, there's a little bit of give and take where validation and evidence is not really part of the reading. But I will tackle that as well. This is educational, entertainment only. As a reminder, when people put themselves on social media, they open themselves up to the fair use law, which means that I can take snippets of their work and then I can review it and or use it in order to create different content, and that is not a copyright infringement. All right, if you watch the other two, we're starting off really strong with a question. Yellow is prominent. Who is that connected to? What a vague, open-ended, subjective question.
My daughter's favorite color. Beautiful. Okay, so he's showing me the yellow. All right. He's saying I miss her terribly. He's saying also you, Ashley. Okay. He's saying he doesn't feel like he fought a good fight. That's what I hear Fernando coming through saying. Okay. He doesn't feel like he fought a good fight. He thinks he gave up too soon. He's saying God took him back to the 5D to fulfill a spiritual role. Okay. That's what I want you to understand. He's doing work in the higher realms. That's what I'm hearing about Fernando. Okay. He's also showing me, why is he showing me a package? Why is he showing me a package?
All right, so I want to allow for the fact that she's a seer and a medium and not be too critical of the reading because of that. So this idea that Fernando is in the other realm as this amazing person, is there anyone on earth that wouldn't want to hear that about their passed over loved one? There isn't. And there is absolutely no way to validate that. And then she goes in with another question. Why am I seeing a package? You're the reader. You go back to spirit. Like, I would lose my shit if this person was in my class, right? You're the reader. You go back and ask what the package is about, and then you present it as evidence. I'm seeing a package that was recently given to you. Now, I will give some options. So when I say multiple choice, some people give like 12 different options, but I will give some options. You either had a package or you are ready to send a package, right? Your options should be limited when you're going back to the sitter. So outwardly saying, why do I see a package? I don't fucking know. Why do you see a package? Like, you tell me why you're seeing a package. So immediately my trigger for readings, and this was literally just nailed into me when I was in classes and coming up, is you don't ask questions. When you're asking questions, that is not an evidential mediumship reading. Again, she calls herself a seer medium, so it's a little bit different, but not totally.
Ashley, how does that reckon, like a package in the mail? Why is he showing me that? That's very specific.
All right, if the information is very specific, then you present it as evidence. You don't ask questions. This is very specific. You would understand that you got a package in the mail recently that made you think of Fernando, or it ties into this reading somehow. Would you understand that? That is a statement asking for acknowledgement, not a question.
He's saying you were very loyal to him in the end.
All right, so this is what's called reading from the comments section. She did not bring the person up into her box. And the person does say not sure. And she just kind of fluffs over that and goes on and says, she goes on to say that he says you're very loyal to him. Again, vague and subjective. What does that mean? Does that mean you stayed by his bedside for 3 weeks through illness? What does it mean? What is the example? When you give vague, subjective information and try to make it evidential, that's a stretch.
He doesn't feel like he showed up in the ways he should. Okay, there may have been a lot of communication blocks with him too, Ashley, but he doesn't feel like he showed up in the ways that he should have.
All right, so I'm actually rewatching this as I'm going through it. That is very specific. When someone comes through and says your dad's apologizing and he doesn't feel like he showed up in the way that he should have, that we're getting more specific. This is the avenue that we should be going down. I like to see this. She's presenting a statement versus asking a question.
As a father role, okay, to your daughter specifically. That's what I'm hearing about Fernando. Is there anything you wanted to ask him, Ashley?
All right, unfortunately, instead of getting validation for that question, she doesn't wait for the comments. She says, is there anything you want to ask me? When you present a statement, you need to wait for the validation that your statement is actually accurate before you go into, is there anything you want to ask me? You haven't proven that you're talking to the person that you say you're talking to, so why would I want to ask a question? Because at this point, I think you're just making up information.
He's showing me somebody with light eyes. Who is that? Blue. Who has the blue in their eyes?
All right, so once again, Ashley asks a very vague question in the comments. Is he doing okay? That's a very vague, it doesn't include a message. It's not timely. It's not evidential. It's not specific. Therefore, this person also hasn't given a message. And you'll see that a lot of these readers don't give messages. Messages are literally the backbone of evidential medium readings. But then the reader goes on to say, do you know someone with blue eyes? He's showing me light eyes. Is there anyone in the world that doesn't know someone with blue eyes?
You have the blue eyes. Okay, he's saying beautiful blue. Okay, that's what I see, the blue eyes specifically. Let's ask if he's doing okay. He's saying he's doing work as a twin flame role. Okay, so I don't know if you've ever heard that title. That is a spiritual role. He's doing work as a twin flame role in a higher realm. That's what I'm hearing there. He's saying you and him didn't hold that title. You weren't twin flames. I'm hearing soulmates. Okay, so you were soulmates to one another. All right. He's moving towards divine union is what I'm hearing there. Okay, Ash.
All right, at this point, again, she should have been able to go back to spirit and say, would you understand that you have very piercing eyes or your eyes are blue? The asking questions, and then there's three colors, right? There's brown, there's hazel, there's blue. The chances of somebody's eyes being blue are very, very high. So that's why you have to present it as evidence versus asking for it. Then she goes on to say, I got kind of lost in the whole twin flame thing. Maybe this isn't her dad. Maybe this was a partner of some sort. I might have missed that part of the reading. However, the end part of it about being twin flames and soulmates and he's working in heaven doing this, it's all incredibly subjective. There's no possible way to validate any of this information. So if I were this person's mentor, I would go back to basics. I would go clear back to psychic ability. I would go clear back to learning to read energy, and then I would introduce mediumship, and I would do that very slowly and very methodically. Once again, this is a very subjective opinion, right? You may love this reader and absolutely go love that reader. If I were her mentor, I would completely go back to basics. And if I was a sitter with money, 0 out of 10, would I pay this person for a reading? It's an absolute 0.